It's the RJ Ochoa Show on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. What's going on in Jerry's world? What's the latest from Cowboy camp? Find out right here, Friday mornings at 7:30 and 9:30 with the manager and editor-in-chief of Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa. Here's Robin Rudy.
Here we are inside of the RJ Ochoa Show. He's Rudy, I'm Rob, and there he is on the bottom left if you're watching us live on our YouTube feed. We call him RJ, I call him a friend. Welcome aboard, RJ. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys. My most sincere apologies on last week. Made it through security for a flight with a 1.5-year-old, which is, no small feat. But it made for a hectic Friday morning that prohibited me from my standard duties around here.
How did young Master Ochoa travel?
You know, he's a pretty good baby overall. We were out of town last week, went and saw the Astros going to win in Houston. And, you know, it's just difficult from a logistical standpoint moving through. And I got to say, like, I have a wonderful marriage, but I never have realized how in sync we are until it comes to high stress moments like that. Because it's like, you take him, I got this. It's like, where did all this coordination come from? I didn't know we had this.
Bro,
yeah,
that's what I tell people.
so,
don't stress out. You're going to figure it out. If people are like, it's the first kid, we don't know. Dude, I don't know what it is. It just flows and you figure it out. It's just instincts, brother. It's instincts. I'm glad you're good.
I do want to. Thanks. I do want to say I was able to walk through airport security with my flip-flops on. I don't know the last time I had done that. So
it's
I actually
smarter
wore
to go with
flip-flops.
It's smarter because you got to take them. You got to take them off. It's smarter.
That's why I wore them. But everybody got to go with their shoes on, and I was kind of pissed off because I was like, "Look, I wore flip-flops
for this reason
to have an advantage right here, and it afforded me nothing." So.
Yeah,
Chunkless in the airport.
4 Rangers All-Stars, no Stros. I just thought we'd throw that out there before we get to the Cowboys. I just wanted to throw that out there.
They're starters, so great job to be fully exacted.
You know, Rudy's trying to pick fights all morning with these Rangers. You can't even name the 4 Rangers All-Stars.
Josh Jung.
Okay.
Corey Seager.
No, I'm
not looking. Okay. No. Josh Jung. Corey Seager.
Nolan Ryan.
Stop. You messing me up. You see, you messed me up. He put me on the spot. It's somewhere in there. Yeah. Anyway.
We are the home of the Texas Rangers. Continue to listen to us regularly.
Marcus Semien and Jonah Hines.
Jonah Hines made it?
Yeah.
That was me money.
Anyways. RJ, you wrote about NFL analysts being split on where they rank the Dallas Cowboys skill position groups. I know they ranked the running backs. I saw that today. They did the receiver room. The receiver room came in at 10, if I'm not mistaken, on what we looked at. Or was it 7?
7, and the running backs came in at 12, according to Pro Football Focus's rankings.
How do you feel about the rankings, and where did you have them ranked in your RJ Ochoa Power rankings? Because those are the only ones that matter.
Well, I do think it's amazing that we have found so many different ways to. The NFL is truly a pig. Like, we've got sausage, we've got bacon, we've got pork chops, we've got
pork belly, the whole 9.
Yeah, exactly. So we can rank the quarterbacks. You're not satisfied with that? We can rank the supporting cast, like everyone but the quarterback. And so I do think that's an interesting exercise because that's why people get so excited about situations like a year ago when Russell Wilson joined the Broncos or Aaron Rodgers joined the Jets, because it's like he's going from one low-class supporting cast to another.
Right.
And I think consensus would agree that the Niners, the Eagles, throw the Bengals in there, they're ahead of the Cowboys.
Yes.
And then I think the conversation starts. Like, do you believe that Miami's top 2 receivers are enough on their own? I mean, they have like 100 running backs.
But we didn't put the quarterbacks in this, RJ. We just put this is just the receiver room. And yes.
I know.
Yes, Waddle and
I know you're talking about the Rangers, this morning, and so your head's like kind of all over the place. But yeah, I said running back. I mean, the Dolphins have a lot of them, but are any of them Tony Pollard? Who's the Dolphins starting tight end? Can you name that person instead of the Rangers All-Stars? Like, and I'm not bragging about the Cowboys tight end position. No, Gesicki's in New England.
He's gone.
Yeah. And so I mean, the Cowboys have a question mark at tight end too, but I mean, the Cowboys, if you look at their supporting cast, you got Ceddee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup. The pressure is a little bit alleviated on Gallup. Obviously, you've got Tony Pollard. I'm not
Tony Pollard off a broken leg, RJ. They factored that in. They factored that in.
I've got some teams ahead of Dallas than maybe others. Like, I think Seattle's really slept on from a supporting
I
cast
agree.
standpoint.
They have a great. We discount
Yeah.
them because we don't like Geno Smith. That's the solution Rob and I came to. Like, we don't like Geno Smith, so we looked them up. We overlooked them.
Right. Like, that's they're a quarterback away, which is funny because they traded Russell to a team that thought that, they were whatever. But I mean, so yeah, I mean, I can make an argument that they're somewhere around 5th, 6th, 7th. I mean, they have Ceddee, who finished 6th in receiving yards last year. I mean, they have Tony Pollard. You're right. Like, there are questions, and that's why, like, I don't think there's a Cowboys fan out there, a rational one, and I recognize that that's a minority. But it's like, oh man, this is the best supporting cast in the NFL. But to some ranks had them 15th. Some
That's
ranks
insane.
had them 14th. But yeah, behind teams like the Steelers or the Commanders or the Saints or the Broncos. So I mean, they're in a better spot than they were at this time a year ago. Certainly coming off the heels of the Amari Cooper trade.
No word on. I hate to dig this up, but let's put it to bed now. Zeke looks like more and more he's.
Can we put it to bed, Rob?
We've gone a week and a half, and I haven't heard the name.
Let's shoot that pig.
Yeah, can we just go ahead and put it down?
Let's shoot it.
What was the name? I didn't.
Zeke. We can just write this off. Right, it's over.
I mean, I feel that way, but I had a lot of friends at various points in my life that I thought were done with certain things. And you know how that is. Like right now, you open up your whatever social media app of choice, you're like, he's hanging out with her again. You know what I mean? Or like, you pick that hobby back up again. And like, I do worry. The Cowboys have done a great job of becoming very un-Cowboys, whether the national media wants to believe that or not. They don't do the low-hanging fruit, TO popcorn bowl at a press conference type stuff anymore. But they do have their blind spots, and Zeke is a favorite son of the organization. So I would not put it past them to sign. I mean, I'm not going to breathe a full and total sigh of relief on that front until, they set their final 53-man roster and he's not a part of it. And that sounds harsh. And so does what I'm about to say. But the reason I'm more bullish on their supporting cast at this time now than I was at this time a year ago is because Zeke Elliott's not a part of it. And again, super grateful for Zeke. Wonderful times, wonderful memories, wonderful player, gave a lot to the team. But they are a better, more explosive offense without him than with him. And I don't care what anybody on your Facebook friends list has to say because those are the people who pay the least amount of attention.
Let's gamble, RJ. I'm not a big gambler, but I'm a big blog and the boys guy, and y'all did some gambling on the site. Plus 190, the Cowboys to win the NFC East. Would you take that money?
Do you know, Rudy J, the last time the NFC East had a repeat winner?
I want to say Donovan McNabb and them.
That's true, but we live in a construct of time. Do you know the year?
I want to say that had to been
Rob, you're paying for Rudy's lunch today. It was 2004, the last
well
time
done.
that the NFC East had a repeat champion. And does that mean anything?
No.
Right? Like do the 07 Giants have anything to do with the 2023 team? No. But I mean, you're talking about 20 years almost of history in a game, in the Super Bowl era that is almost 60 years old. Like if we do some rounding, you're talking about 30%, or I'm sorry, a third, larger than 30% of like all history. So you're fighting history. You're also fighting the history that the Eagles were inordinately good last year. Not only were they inordinately good, they had one of the better and easier schedules in the NFL. They had some of the better injury luck in the NFL. Wow. I mean, if you play, hey, you said you're a betting man, Rudy.
I'm not.
Respect. And well, if you are, you're an objective man. You're a man of reason. You're a man of logic. And so there's a lot of reason and logic to suggest the regression will show up for the Eagles in a similar way that it'll show up for the Cowboys, in a similar way that it'll show up for the Giants and the Commanders. So, I mean, the smart money would be on a non-Philadelphia team winning the NFC East based on a variety of factors. And so if I gave you 100 jelly beans and said, Rudy, you can do whatever you want with these, you got to bet on Dallas, New York, or Washington to win this thing. Yeah, it makes sense at Dallas. I mean, would you say it was plus 190 right now? Do it. I mean, that's free money at this point in time.
RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys sitting with us. We heard a number about $23 to $27 million floating around for Ceddee Lamb. It looks like the Cowboys might be imminent to sign him. Any thoughts and news there?
I mean, that's the number because that's the going rate,
right?
And this is a conversation I've been having with people since I stood in line at Rock the Mic. I mean, you have to understand what going rate is. You want to buy a house, you want to buy a car, you want to buy anything. How much does the market tell you it is worth? And so if you want Ceddee Lamb on your team, that's what it's going to cost. I know it's a big number, but you know what? A year from now, it's going to be even bigger. A year from now, when Justin Jefferson likely has his deal, when Jamar Chase potentially has his deal, you can sit here and tell me till you're blue in the face about how Ceddee is not.
Do you think it's
better
imminent,
than them.
like soon and within the next week, or will this be a training camp thing?
I don't mean to do the I'm smarter than everybody thing,
No.
but it would be imminent if I ran the team.
Right.
Like you
You can say you're smarter than everyone. There's nothing wrong with that.
They've dragged their feet on a lot of contracts, and they've had to pay a lot more money than they would have had they been a little bit more forward thinking. And you have to hope and believe on some level that they've learned from that lesson. And I mean, that's why they have to pay him. I mean, Trayvon Diggs and Ceddee Lamb are priorities number 1 and 2. You've got some lower level priorities like Terrence Steele and Tyler Biadasz to a different degree, but you have to get this done. I mean, you absolutely do, because again, I saw you give some pushback, Rudy, about Jamar Chase. And
no, I'm not going to accept you mentioning CD alongside of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. I'm not accepting that. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not saying he's a better player than them, but
Okay.
if the three of us
As long as we got
are
that
in charge, if the three of us are in charge of getting the most amount of money possible for Ceddee Lamb, right? Like that's our goal. That's our job. That's how we put food on our tables, right? And Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson have brand new deals. Are we all going to willfully get together and say, all right, guys, we're going to go to Jerry and Steven and we're going to say, we don't need as much.
Why
as
can't you
Jamar
just
and
do what
Justin
Green
Jefferson?
Bay and Chiefs did and let your best receiver walk? Because you don't have Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. Is that what you, is that?
Yes.
No, I'm being serious.
True.
I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just saying, like,
Well,
I watched
Rudy,
Tyreek walk. I watched Devontae Adams walk. Why can't the Cowboys do the same? Why would I want $44 million tied up between Cooks and Ceddee Lamb, RJ?
Well, first of all, if you don't prioritize the passing game, you become a franchise that doesn't have one, like the Chicago Bears. Second of all,
Nice.
Why do we always
that was a whopping
and then
return.
Rob always comes in
smash
co-sign. You see, Rob always comes in co-sign. Why are you always kicking me in the nads about the
because
Bears?
I think it costs you about $40 million to have wide receivers on a football team. I think that's the going rate.
Give me the other team that has 40.
I think you're going to see all the top 5 are going to be spending $40 million a year to have the 2 wide receivers. I mean, look at what Cincinnati's going to be paying $40 a year to have all,
one
or
of
if
them
not more.
One of them walk.
Well, they've got 3, but one of them, 2 of them will stay. I think it's going to cost Buffalo that much. I think that by the end of the Eagles, it's just $40 million to have wide receivers. I think that's what it's going to cost.
Okay.
I mean, it's life. And like back to the kid point, we kind of started. You're having a kid, it's like, oh man, I have to get an SUV and a car seat. And like, you got to get like certain things to adjust and accommodate for like the goals you have in life. And that's what it is. Like that's all this is, just a different way, shape, or form. You want to have an elite passing game, you want to have an elite wide receiver, great. And if you don't want to do that, good for you. You can try it out. You mentioned Green Bay and Kansas City, the team with maybe the best quarterback we'll ever see in our lifetime. Won the Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. The other one sucked and floundered and was terrible and was awful. And so, like, you know, because of the Aaron Rodgers stuff, people don't really talk about that. But the Devontae Adams trade blew up in the faces of the Packers. Like, that didn't work out in any way, shape,
and
or
the
form.
Raiders.
So, like, I know you said that facetiously, but if you want Ceddee Lamb on this team, you've got to do it. And again, you may think it's ridiculous to put him in the same breath as Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, but on an open market, he's absolutely in the same breath because he is something that you want. He is a wide receiver 1. So are they. So how much are they getting paid? Like, do you think Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts? No. I mean, I think a lot of people would argue that in different ways, but but still, like,
okay, yeah, I got where you're coming from. Yeah, gotcha.
He's getting paid more because he got paid after him. Like, that's just the way this goes.
You said CD's first and Trayvon is on the list. What do you see the pecking order of payment here? Is it CD, Trayvon, Micah with everything that they've tried to save? How do you think the order goes here?
Well, so they can't pay Micah until after the season, so they're protected on that.
Right.
The priority has to be Trayvon. I mean, like, that's one where if I'm not like down for this, but if you want to have a conversation about letting Trayvon walk, that's at least a conversation. You can kind of talk about he's too aggressive. Well, I think that's silly, but in a world of infinite possibilities, I suppose that's on the table. But he has to be your priority because Ceddee Lamb, while the price will go up, you're still protected. You still have his option year next year, and that obviously runs through 2024. You could franchise tag him in 2025 if you really wanted to. So, like, you've got some flexibility there. Trayvon, though, he's entering a contract year. And more importantly, Trayvon is entering a contract year where next offseason, his brother is now going to be available to kind of get out of his deal with the Buffalo Bills. And so what you don't want to be doing is kind of negotiating and bartering with Trayvon, presuming his brother also wants to play with him on the same team and wants a massive contract in his own right, while you're simultaneously bargaining with Ceddee Lamb. So, I mean, you want to get this Trayvon thing done. And if you do, maybe you bake in a hometown discount for Stephon Diggs.
Interesting.
You see, you know what I'm finding out, RJ? I'm finding out that your lovely wife is clearly in charge of y'all's finances, because you just want to pay everybody. You just like, yo, we got to pay CD. We got to pay Trayvon. Oh, and soon we're going to pay Marker, and we're going to pay Biotis. You just want to throw money around the room. It doesn't work like that in the NFL. Somebody has to walk, and sometimes it's a good player.
How often do good players walk? I mean, seriously.
I agree with you.
No, I mean, but go ahead. My bad, Rob.
Like,
go ahead.
I agree with you, but this is a world that is constantly seeing growth, right? Like, you're right. Like, you mentioned finance. Like, you can't budget in this world because the budget changes. The budget grows every year.
It grows. It does grow.
It grows. So it grows by like 10%. So while the numbers sound bigger, they're just as chalk. Like, they're just as proportional relative from a percentage standpoint to the salary cap as they've always been. But I mean, it sounds like, holy crap, you're going to pay Ceddee Lamb $25 million a year. Like, how are you going to bring Stephon Diggs in? Like, that's pretty normal now. Like, that's like, you know, you've got enough money to throw around. Like, who was it was it Conley that got like $1 billion that one NBA
the Grizzlies' first Supermax?
Yeah. I remember that. Like, I was like, what? Yeah, I remember that.
But this isn't that. But I mean, you've got the room, and you've got beyond that the motivation, the window, the opportunity, because yeah, you're right. Like, the bill always comes due, and starting next offseason, Micah Parsons can get his deal. And when that deal comes on the table, life changes significantly.
No, okay, let's go this way. And I think Rudy's right. One of these guys will not be here. Pick the most likely candidate not to be here between CD, which, you know, we expect Trayvon. Should we throw Tyler Smith in here because contracts are imminent there?
I would throw Steele in there.
Or is there a likely candidate to just not be here because the Cowboys can't afford him?
Good question.
I think Steele is the answer, but I think that, like, that's an easy answer. Like, if I make the question a little bit more challenging, you know, if you say, you know, before August next year, so in the next
let's give it right.
No, let's do that.
I mean, and I think it comes down to CD, Trayvon, and I mean, Micah's not walking, but you know, if you're feeding them whatever, it's Trayvon. He's probably quote unquote the least important. Plus, I mean, again, unlike CD or Micah, Trayvon does have the stigma of like being aggressive, kind of, you know, you either get an all pro or a big play or whatever type stuff. So if you have to pick one, if you have to have a priority list, he's just third on a list of three really, really, really great players. And so that's unfortunate. Plus, I mean, the positional value and element of things matters. I mean, Micah's a pass rusher. That's among the most important things you can have. And CD, while he's just a wide receiver, he's an extension of the most important element you have on your team, and that's your quarterback. That's Dak Prescott. And if you're being frank with yourself, and, you know, a lot of people don't like to do this. In fact, Rudy, so that you're aware, on a podcast this week, I picked my most overrated Cowboy, and it was Dak. But I think an element of Dak is that we don't like to say out loud is he missed time in 2022. He missed time in 2021. He missed time in 2020. These are all different injuries that aren't necessarily connected in a medical sense. But I mean, if you're playing odds, I mean, you could argue that he's a little injury prone if you really, really wanted to. So Ceddee Lamb becomes all the more important for the Cooper Rushes of the world that are going to be in there if Dak Prescott is dealing with some sort of ailment.
Great point.
And the other thing, RJ, that to me you brought to the national media, and the Cowboys are just kind of like, hey, if nobody says anything, we're not going to say anything. And this is something you brought up. They still haven't paid him, which you let us know earlier this year. If they go into next year and they don't have the deal done, they can get out from under that contract after next season. What's going on that front? Because I'm hearing about CD. I'm hearing about, I mean, but it's kind of like don't ask, don't tell with this new Dak deal.
I think what's going on is, you know, do you know Wimbledon starts this weekend? You know,
is it watch the left hand so you don't know what's going on in the right? Is that what you're giving me?
Well, I think it's just this part of the off season.
Oh, okay.
We finally made it to the doldrums. You know what I mean? Like it's vacation time. You know what I mean? It's, again, it's a 24/7, 365 sort of thing. But like, if you've got it on cruise control at any point, it's now. I know you're not being hot takey, but I think that the stress level becomes a little bit real if, say, they finish their Oxnard portion of training camp without a deal done. You know what I mean? Because at that point, you're kind of back to.
So let's wait a little bit. What you're saying? Okay.
Right. I mean, lots of people are on vacation. Lots of people are chilling. Because you could have the same conversation. Why doesn't Justin Herbert have his new deal? Why doesn't Joe Burrow have his new deal? Why doesn't Justin Jefferson have his new deal? I mean, there are different options, or you can kind of throw out in different senses to sort of prove that point. But yeah, this isn't the time of year that massive 150 franchise altering contracts get done.
Is there any way that Pollard strikes a longer deal by the deadline? What is it, 17th?
You're right. So Rob's the one coming in with the good question, because that's the story that no one's talking about. It's the 15th of July. So they have 2 weeks to get it done. And if it doesn't, then they have to play him on the tag, which is something they're well accustomed to. I think the only way is if Pollard realizes that, he plays it's unfortunate, it's blunt, but he plays a position that just is devalued in today's NFL. And so you've got to really, in general, strike while the iron's hot, but like, you only get one chance to strike at this position. Not just that the iron's hot, that the iron is available if you're a running back. So you've got to take it and you've got to run with it. No pun intended.
No, I totally agree. Your good buddy Jason Minix compared Dak Prescott to James Harden. Really good regular season, get a lot of blame, and it's not always their fault. Where you come out on Jason Minix comparing Dak Prescott and James Harden? Do you hate it? Do you love it?
I love exercises like this, like where we compare really, weird and wonky things. I would love to like compare, NFL quarterbacks to like prominent like chefs. Like I would love to hear Rob say like, who's the Andrew Zimmerman of the NFL?
Ooh,
like that.
You just gave me a topic.
But James Harden, no, that's awful. Like
what?
James Harden is so. If I like, and I'm just now like green into this, but like if I had to pick one, it's probably Aaron Rodgers. Like if there's a dude who's like inducing drama and creating chaos for your team in just the dumbest ways possible that you couldn't imagine, it would be him. I think, and I'm a little bit partial to this player. Pledge knows this. I think Dak is Jason Tatum, like just kind of a cold killer dude that everybody rallies around, like kind of, just kind of a respectable presence that so far, and Tatum, I remember Bill Simmons had this take Simmons or Tatum's rookie year. He was like, he's never going to be worse than this. And I remember thinking like, how's that possible? Like that's just because he's like a rookie doesn't mean he could ever be a worse player. But like, it was such a like, loud entrance to the NBA. Right. And that's how Dak was as a rookie. Playing like a Tiffany franchise, it was in his respective league. So Tatum is my pick. Incidentally, Tatum is from where Zeke Elliott is from, so he's best buddies with Zeke. So is Dak. So like, I mean, it kind of goes straight down the line. Dak Prescott, Jason Tatum. I rest my case. Get the hell out of here with this James Harden business. What a stupid thing to say out loud.
That's RJ Ochoa.
Did you hear that?
We got to run real quick. What's going to be on the grill coming up on the 4th? You doing burgers or dogs or both?
That's a sensitive topic because my pellet grill is a little bit in the shop right now.
Oh no!
Damn. I've had my words with the manufacturer. So it's out of service at the moment, but we did get a new Ninja air fryer baker thing.
Nice.
So I might HEB. I love their I know it's sacrilegious on 4th of July, but I love their salmon burgers where they put like.
Oh, they're actually pretty good. Those salmon burgers are good.
Yeah,
they are.
So I know it's not beef, but I'm thinking some salmon burgers, some jalapeno poppers, some chips with your dip of choice. And the hot dog eating contest on the television to make me feel, better about my dietary.
Your life choices. He's RJ Ochoa. You made a good choice joining us right now. You hear him. Hey, have a great holiday, RJ. We'll talk to you next week.
Good to see you, brother. Love you.
One love.
One love.
Offense stinks forever.